When people watch the UFC, they see warriors walking into the octagon, lights flashing, the crowd roaring, and the commentators hyping them up as modern-day gladiators. To the casual fan, being a UFC fighter looks glamorous: fame, money, and the thrill of victory. But behind that facade lies a reality most people don't see. Being a UFC fighter is one of the most brutal and unforgiving careers a person can choose, and the suffering often outweighs the rewards. Brutal training camps. Before a fighter even steps into the cage, months of grueling training camps destroy their bodies. Fighters spend hours sparring, grappling, wrestling, and conditioning. Injuries are constant companions: broken bones, torn ligaments, concussions, and muscle strains are part of everyday life. Unlike most sports, UFC fighters don't get an off-season. They fight, heal, and train again. The camp is a war before the actual war. The hell of weight cutting. One of the worst parts of being a UFC fighter is weight cutting. Athletes are forced to shed enormous amounts of water and fat to make weight for their division. They sit in saunas for hours, sweat in plastic suits, and sometimes even starve themselves for days. This process leaves fighters dizzy, weak, and close to fainting. Imagine going through hell just to weigh in, and then you're expected to fight at your best the very next day. Constant injuries and lifelong damage. Every punch, every kick, every submission attempt leaves scars that don't fully heal. Fighters push through injuries that would sideline any other athlete. Torn knees, broken hands, cracked ribs, and concussions become part of their story. But the long-term consequences are even worse: chronic pain, arthritis, memory loss, and even brain trauma. Many fighters pay with their health long after the lights go out. Miserable pay and financial struggles. Despite the UFC being a billion-dollar organization, most fighters don't make life-changing money. Outside the superstars, fighters often earn less than the average worker when you account for training costs, coaches, medical expenses, and travel. Some fighters work side jobs just to survive, while risking their lives in the octagon. The idea of fighting for glory often becomes fighting to pay rent. Short career span. Unlike other sports, UFC fighters have a very short window of peak performance. A football player might play for 10 to 15 years, but a UFC fighter's body often breaks down after just a handful of years at the top. Younger, hungrier fighters replace them quickly, and fans move on. Many fighters find themselves forgotten and broke while still in their 30s. The mental toll. The psychological pressure of being a UFC fighter is immense. The fear of losing, the stress of being cut from the roster, and the constant judgment from fans and media weigh heavily. Fighters live with anxiety about injuries, paychecks, and their future. Mental health struggles, depression, and substance abuse are unfortunately common. The octagon doesn't just hurt the body, it breaks the mind. The danger of the octagon. At the end of all the suffering, the training, the weight cuts, the stress, fighters still have to step into the octagon and risk it all. Every fight could end in a devastating knockout, broken bones, or even permanent disability. Unlike other athletes, UFC fighters literally gamble with their lives every time they compete. The danger is real, and the price can be irreversible. Fame without security. Even fighters who make it to the top often struggle after retirement. Fame fades quickly, and without proper financial planning, many end up broke. Unlike other sports leagues, there are no pensions, no guaranteed contracts, no long-term medical support. Once you're done, you're on your own. For many, that transition is harsher than any punch they ever took. The harsh reality. Being a UFC fighter is sold as a dream: glory, fame, and legacy. But the truth is darker. Behind every fight is a trail of broken bodies, broken minds, and broken lives. For every champion that fans celebrate, there are dozens of fighters struggling in silence, paying the price of chasing greatness. That's why, as incredible as UFC fighters are, the reality is that being one truly sucks.